having to do anything, but my event ones are not getting such great traction, so I want to get it in front of more people because it's not organically going in front of people, so I'm going to put more ad money in that one. Does that make sense? So it's kind of a give and take along the way, and you'll see sort of how your alumni are responding to your different ones.
Although I've heard differently, like large corporations will say which post is actually resonating with our followers, and they put the money in those because it's a proven thing. But I guess if our objective is to promote events over athletic things that are just sort of news, it depends on what your objective is. Because if you have a really great picture like that canoe,
Yeah.
and you post it out, and I see this thing on my feed from Wright State with 1,000 comments, I'm going to go look at it. But if it's just an event that's, may or may not be, I may not be in town or whatever, we'll be like, oh yeah, that's nice.
Well, the good news is that Holly and Nick are helpful with getting you guys photos also. I don't want to speak on for you guys, but that's some of the things that we've been talking about is they're going to provide a lot of support to get photos for certain things. And you're right, that's for brands like an Oreo that has millions of followers. What we're just trying to do is get you started. So yes, you're hearing certain things, but for this piece, we're just trying to get it off the ground. Mm-hmm.
Therefore, with what you just said, it may be incumbent upon each of our individual networks to create some photos.
Yes.
To personalize that we're going to be. I mean, everybody likes main campus, and when we get the notifications, that's fine. But if we could personalize it for something in our 5-county area or Franklin County does it, and there's an identity for them, should we be having someone get some photos up to Nick?
Absolutely. And faces. You want people to be in groups. That's kind of counterintuitive. You want to get the action usually. Those are horrible social media pictures. It doesn't make any sense and nobody knows the context. They want to see people that they recognize and feel part of whatever it is. So yeah, please do that as well when you've got events going. Okay, so one last thing. What we're going to do before we do the Q&A and really get into a little bit more is we actually are going to provide you support for the next few months. Until things kind of get up and running. I am available, you'll get my contact information, and Holly and Nick are available for just basic strategic help. What is it that you're trying to do and how do you even get started? We are going to be providing you post suggestions. You all have different networks. If you put the same thing up, nobody cares. We also are going to say, we're going to suggest that you share and post other Wright State alumni, or not alumni, Wright State posts. You've got the listing back here of athletics, the Alumni Association, other things. Go as your page and go like them. They're similar. You can share them. It's an easy way to get good content. If you're seeing this show up, the one with the boat, share that on your network also. It's a great way to spread a fun thing. So we're going to provide all of those suggestions for you for the next few months. And the last thing is we're going to help with event promotion support. So the next event that you have, we'll work through some of the logistics of getting that out. So that way you can see sort of how it all works together. And then as your network grows, you'll be able to have sort of the ins and outs. The main key to all of this is I don't want to give you one more thing to do. This is truly an opportunity for you to reach alumni without having to do a whole lot but sit in front of your screen. And it's a really good way to broadcast your message and really pull in more alumni for less of an expense and a drain on even your personal resource. So I want to open the floor up to questions. Anything is fine. Basic mechanics. I didn't go through the guide. There is a lot of information in here, even down to, I see the first one on what memes to use, or however you say that word. Memes? Memes? Then my husband always says memes, and I'm like, I don't think it's memes. Yeah. The what? I wasn't planning on it. Do you want to talk about that? So I thought that they already had those.
No, we only did one.
We only did one. Okay. I wasn't planning on it, but we did create all of that, and that's my apology. I thought that we talked about that.
Yeah, so
I'll let you.
As part of the relationship that we have with My Supermarketer, if any of you go and see the Cincinnati network page,
Yeah.
they have developed a basic cover photo and a profile picture to kind of get everyone started to also
Yeah.
help with the continuity of all of our networks and societies while also being different as well. So we'll send those out
Yes.
and start uploading those, and you can use them for as long as you want. So if you have an event and you want to make it your cover photo or your cover photo or your profile picture, you can change it by all means. But we want to put it into your Facebook library, so then when that event is over, you can then pop that really nice image back up onto your Facebook page until the next time something comes up.
So we did all that pre-work for you.
I guess first is for Nick. Are we going to be able to get control of the Facebook page?
Yes, and I think everyone should already, or at least someone.
I don't think we have the
Okay,
control
we'll
yet.
definitely look into that.
Okay. And then,
Yeah.
question for you. When we have an event, how aggressive should we get with, like, I'm talking email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Should we just pump it as many times as we can
Yes.
through that as much as possible, all of them?
With all of them, yes. So I would say when we're doing a campaign, I'll give you a suggestion of what we're doing. We do a lot of 2-week, week-long campaigns. Send an email out, then do like a campaign for your event. How long is it that you're going to schedule whatever you're trying to promote? Maybe it's 3 weeks before the event. You're going to put almost a post or 2 a week up, and then you're going to follow up with a final email. And then you've got probably direct mail in there also. So you're basically doing a campaign for your event. It's not just let's throw it out and see what it is. You want to continue it going a couple of times.
Okay. Is there a set time you would say before then to start all this? Because we usually do a baseball game.
Sure.
Now we're already starting to think maybe we'll get something out. It's not till July. We're thinking March. Is that okay to start that early, or are people just going to be kind of tune it out by that point?
You can do a save the date because some people will pay attention to it, but the social piece of it and the email piece, I would wait. Or you can even do a save the date with email, but the social piece, don't even worry about it. It's too instant, and it's a constant stream, so they're not going to pay attention to it. That will leave their memory bank beforehand, if that makes sense. So you're wanting to do event promotion about 3 weeks out when heavy registration time is supposed to come in. I saw somebody else had a question. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in Cleveland, we're just kind of getting our toe into this, and I was just checking our page. I think we got like 40 likes. Should we focus on growing the number, or focus on trying to get 4 to 6 posts a week, or both?
Your 4 to 6 posts a week are going to drive that number. So yeah, focus on getting more people to the page. The more people that you get to the page, the more information is getting out to them. So that would be my focus for you. 40 is a good place to start. So 140 in 12 months isn't a bad goal to have, actually.
So the more content would hopefully increase people to like the page.
Correct.
Is there any way to monitor when they share that information with someone else not in the network?
Yes.
Can that be monitored?
So what you can do is it's like an arrow, and you can see who has shared it typically, unless their privacy settings are funny.
Sure.
It kind of depends, but you can really see who is doing that and who's sharing that, which is good for you to be able to specifically target and say, hey, I saw you shared this. We hope that you can make it.
It also tells you how many people saw the post.
Yes. There's a lot of information. So if you've got 40 people and you put up just a post, you might reach 5 of those people. So the more people you get on the organic side, so Facebook has changed, right? They're a for-profit company now, and they have shareholders. So the way that they're making their money, because they don't want to charge us for using it, is that as advertisers, as a brand, you have to put a little money into getting your communication out there. That's kind of the way that it is.
For the, where it says, what it shows you how many people have seen
Yeah.
on the page, if it's a video, does that mean that they've watched the video or they just saw it?
They just saw it. Yeah, they might not. You can probably go in and look at clicks and links if they clicked on a link. that shows up, which is a little bit different. So most likely you have to click on the video. I know they're constantly streaming unless you change that. So that, I think, is just still a scene. It doesn't mean that they've watched the whole thing or not.
I do a Facebook page for another nonprofit that
Yeah.
I'm associated with, but one thing I've noticed, and it's sort of along what you were talking about, that it seems like there are times when the day of time you post makes a big difference on what the viewing or
Yes.
the clicking of that post. I know there's a lot of analytics that go on behind that page that you can see how it goes, but I've noticed that on some of the posts I've done for the group, if I post it, if I time it for like 5 o'clock in the evening, I seem to reach out to more people. I don't know if that's a false hope or not, or if it's true versus like 7 in the morning or at lunchtime, at noon, that kind of thing. So
Right, right.
I don't know, you know, you were talking about boosting the post, but if I'm being led down a wrong road by how many people actually view it based on the time of day, I'm wondering if that's something, I mean, I guess I obviously needed to take that into account, but
Sure.
is it something am I evaluating it?
No, you're right. There are certain times that they're going to get higher views, and that is just a kind of a game that gets played. We worked with the University of South Florida. 9 p.m. was their best time, and it was significantly higher, but it is kind of all over the place. When we do our posts, it is basically what you're talking about. We don't do a lot in the morning unless it's like 9 o'clock. People get to work and then check email and kind of get situated, and Facebook is a big time of the day for when you're getting situated at that 9 o'clock time frame. Right after lunch, 1 o'clock, in your time zone, obviously. I'm on Central Time Zone, so I always have to watch that actually. I will post, or I'll schedule activities, and I have to make sure that I'm doing it in the time zone that they're in. That shouldn't be an issue for you, but just to kind of keep in mind. Commute time, if you're in a metropolitan area, is something to consider also. Your phone is out when you're sitting on the bus or on the train. And the other piece is later in the evening after kids are in bed. 9 o'clock is usually around that time. That's just when you think about your natural cycle of when you're checking it either on your phone or on your desktop, and that's typically what it is. 5 o'clock would probably be kind of that commute time, or I'm going offline for the day, so I'm just going to check Facebook real fast before I log out, or I've got a half an hour. I cannot do one more thing. Facebook is there.
So along the same lines then, how often do people actually visit a page versus just look at the posts? Because I think about with the same thing, if I'm trying to reach a demographic, different demographic, you know, so a student may, I don't know, maybe looking at 9 o'clock where somebody that's coming home from work look at 5 o'clock. If I repost the same thing over and over again, it's going to show up repetitive, or I could delete it on the page. I don't think I want to do that. But
Right.
It'll show up repetitive on the page, but if they're not ever going to the page really, and they're just looking at the posts I feed, then it seems okay, is it?
Yeah, and that's, well, not necessarily doing it over and over again. You can. I'm not saying that. Like when we're doing event promotion, we want to make sure that you're getting that information out several times. People are not typically going to a brand's page and looking at all their posts. They're seeing it in their newsfeed, and that's what the boost will do. It's a continuous throughout a certain time period. Really, it just keeps going until enough people have viewed it or clicked on it that you've used your ad budget. Is basically the way that it is. So it's a continuous feed. Yeah.
We have a metric behind that on how many people will see it. It's not for a time period.
It's not for a time period. It's until that money is gone, and then they put it into the feeds in that way.
And is there a way to, for Twitter, there's a way, there's services that you put in your URL, and it tells you when you've had the most engagement, after you have like 500 tweets or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember what it was called, but it was fascinating. It was totally counterintuitive. And basically the message from my field was, you need to tweet when when people aren't working, like you said, after kids are asleep,
Yeah.
before you get in at 9 in the morning. Is there something like that for Facebook, or is it just your Facebook data?
There's lots of different services that are out there. I know you guys use Sprout Social. Sprout Social is one. Hootsuite is one that's pretty good too. Yeah, and you can get all the analytics from that. So you can run your Twitter and your Facebook and all that through Hootsuite, and it will collect all that information for you as an aggregate.
I think in your presentation you mentioned there would be suggested content.
Yes.
Can that be automated content?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna end up doing is posting examples in the resource tab
Yeah.
on the website. So where we have all the other network and society resource documents, we'll put this social
Yeah.
media guidebook and then all the other assets that will come from Activate Alumni to you guys. So you can pick them up there or we'll send them directly to you so you can schedule posts.
Is there a software that can manage multiple pages at once where the alumni, you guys, could just push some basic ones on all of the, rather than that, go through that whole step of posting it, then we go out there, we pull it down, we post it.
Yeah, we didn't opt to put alumni networks and societies onto the Sprout social platform, only because you are very unique individual organizations. So this is something where social media should be a chairperson on your committee, so that there's someone that manages it, not necessarily the president or vice president of your network.
You keep saying Hootsuite. I'm
That's like, I love it. That's what we use for all of, the Alumni Association. Like, we just had a huge event, Raider Roundup, where we brought the alumni back for a big game, and I had everything scheduled that we had a post going out every 2 hours, 24 hours, and then you can look at the data, and I found out we were only getting like 7 people between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. That's when everyone's studying. And then we get the most viewers between 2
Or
and 4.
sleeping.
I love it. I didn't know about it until I got this position last semester, and it like changed my life. But I have one question about it, because you're talking about boosts, but if you use Hootsuite, there's a thing you can hit, and there's a button you can press, and it will send your post out when most people are online. How will that work if you boost it?
It's different. So you still have to boost it from your page. So you can't, even if you're using Hootsuite as your aggregate and you're sending it all out, you're going to want to go and boost it. Yes, they'll send it out at that time, but if you want it to continue into areas that are not necessarily who's already connected with you, the boosting is really to look at how do you connect people that are not already connected with your page. And it's an advertisement, so to speak. That's why it says sponsored on it. So it's really to get more people that aren't currently in your network to respond and to see it. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions? So there's a lot that, let's summarize a little bit. So we've got the resources for you to even start your page, and that is coming from the resource tab from Holly and Nick. That's ready to go, and
It's not uploaded yet.
it's not uploaded, but it's coming. And I'm sorry, I misunderstood that they hadn't got that already, which is not that big of a deal, but you'll get that. We're going to give some posting suggestions. We're going to say that starting to get new people connected to your social environment is a great first goal for you to start looking at. And then what is it that you want to say to those folks as they're coming in? So think about in terms of when you have people come to the events, what are you asking them to do? Same thing. You're building a community and you're just talking about your region and you're getting your own identity. And then we'll help with any event promotion all at the same time. So you've got some next steps coming up, but it is really an outreach tool that is a little bit off of what the normal communication is for higher ed outreach, basically. You're not alone. This is a new thing, even though for all of us, we've had our own social platforms that we've been using for a long time. One other thing I wanted to talk about with the other social platforms versus Facebook, we talk a lot about Facebook. Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, and all of those are great to use, but we really want to make sure that if you don't use those, it's okay. Take it one step at a time. The Facebook is really the mothership of the social media, and even if you use Twitter, I would even think of bringing them back to a registration page on your Facebook page for an event. Yeah.
Yeah, what about LinkedIn? Because I see the Mike State has
Yeah.
assets on LinkedIn as well.
So LinkedIn is an incredible tool for individuals. It's not so great with brands yet. It's going to be eventually. We don't even use LinkedIn. It's too expensive to use. So if I'm running an ad on Facebook and I'm converting like 24 cents, it's like $9 in conversion rates if you're looking at the difference between LinkedIn. It's good to use for just general announcements at this point, but for actual social interaction, it's not the greatest for a group yet. There are groups, but it's individuals posting within groups versus kind of all over.
One thing I will say that I found LinkedIn helpful for, and most information people really don't use LinkedIn for anything other than, well, you gotta have a page.
Yeah.
Is when I was looking for alums.
Yes.
I used LinkedIn and found a bunch of people and then was able to go on Facebook. Because people have their resumes up, so they'll have their school on their resume, but maybe not on their Facebook page.
Right.
And I would agree, I found more contacts in Greater Cleveland on LinkedIn than I could ever find on Facebook.
Yeah, it's definitely a different tool to use, but if you drive them back to your Facebook page, it's a little bit easier because you just don't go and look at your LinkedIn news feed like you do your Facebook news
But what
feed.
if they don't have a Facebook page?
That is an issue, yes, and that's why we say you still have to use the other communication tools. You know, it's the same as you still want to use email. We talked about direct mail for you was really important to have it up on your fridge. Don't negate those, but this is another way to grab people that are not connected to you in a really inexpensive manner. And that's really kind of what we're looking at. How do we get more people to come to your society inexpensively without having to do all the extra work of events and hope that somebody hears about it?
Type of associations that we work for, how would we use Pinterest?
You know, I'm not a Pinterest user myself, but we have brands and associations that do it's almost like another Instagram account.
Oh, okay.
That's really what a lot of people are using Pinterest for. Instagram, you cannot post links in it. They're not live links. So Instagram is kind of faulty in that manner. Some people use Snapchat. You know, admissions is a little bit of so in terms of trying to get new students to come, they use a little bit more of like a Pinteresty type of deal. This is what your ideal dorm room could look like, that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of a different beast than the alumni piece of it.
Okay. So I do have another question on the whole Instagram thing. My daughter just graduated college, so she is, what is it, Y something?
A millennial. We're not supposed to say Gen Y, remember?
But she said that Facebook is old school. She doesn't even have an account anymore. Everybody goes to Instagram in that age group.
Yeah.
So, but you said it was difficult to use. So are we missing the boat with the recent graduates?
No.
Okay.
So you're right. That Facebook is one of many, many, many social networks that millennials are using. The reality is they are still coming to Facebook because just like email is somewhat outdated for that age group, when they get into the working profession, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to use email, even though like my kids, I have a sixth grader, and he has an email account, and he's like, I'm never going to use this, it's all text. But when you get into a professional environment, things shift a little bit, and we know that that group does then use Facebook. We also get about 93% of a graduating class from a university is typically on Facebook also, just based on, we do a lot of campaigns to connect that age group together. We did that actually for the Wright State last year. So yeah, we know that things are shifting and it's not as popular as it used to be, but when they get into a professional environment, things shift and change quite a bit.
But there's a way that you can, I'm sorry, that you can
use
combine
Instagram, yes.
Instagram with Facebook,
Yep.
so you can still reach them without.
Especially
having a
since
whole
Facebook
separate-
just bought Instagram.
There you go.
So, yes. So it will definitely be all connected together, yeah.
You bring up a good point. I was just laughing. I think I work in the only industry, being healthcare, that is still heavily reliant on a fax machine.
Right, that's ridiculous.
I mean, doctors are like, just fax it over. I'm like, really?
That's not even that should be out of the dictionary now. Any other questions, thoughts? How are we doing on time? I can keep going if you want me to talk. Oh, very good. So if you have questions, seriously, this is my email. Email me. Let me know if you need anything. I'm happy to answer just basic questions also.
This is a question for everybody, but for both of you. I guess, what are the next steps? Are you going to follow up with each of the networks and societies on
Yeah,
where we go from here on this?
Yeah, we're gonna be talking to individuals about, when you get your picture, putting that up, putting your new about up, and then the strategy behind, who on your committee is taking care of this, and how is your committee supporting them in terms of using the assets that Activate Alumni has, but also creating your own, like what other
Yeah.
ways might you wanna do? Because in my opinion, I think if I were a social media chair, I would wanna know that my committee has already said, these are some posts that we like. So that way when I'm scheduling things out, I don't need to constantly ask somebody, I just have everything in queue. So that way you guys can maybe start to work with us on like how much to build out for the future.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Social media is so great when it's social. Do you have groups where the alumni committee actually will share the links to their own networks? Because sometimes you put someone out there and the rest of it just